I'll be honest with you. When I was first going through the anime that I would be watching for summer 2017, Princess Principal was not on my list. Like, at all. And if I didn't randomly come across a trailer for the series, I probably would still not be watching it. And I am really glad I did because it's honestly my favorite anime of the season. And from what I can tell, I'm not the only one because as I look around, there's a lot of people who I see as not talking about this series. And while I don't think everyone would agree with me that it's the best of the season, especially with Made in Abyss probably going to take that title for most people, I think that it's really a shame how little attention this series is getting. If you're a steampunk fan, if you're looking for espionage and lies and action, or if you were just honestly disappointed by last year's Joker game, then you couldn't ask for a better anime than what we're getting, at least so far. I'm only 5 episodes in on, obviously, but I am expecting this to end up being my favorite series of the season. Now, while I feel that there was a lot to love about this series with the steampunk setting, the Civil War in London, or just the awesome action scenes, there are really 2 aspects which I feel have carried the series for me, which would be the tone and the characters. What I like about the tone is that they start by tempering your expectations with the moe character designs and the introduction of the possibly main character scientist, Eric, I believe his name was, and just, you're not really sure where the show is going to go, but as the first episode progresses, you get a really good idea that it's not trying to mess around. It's no 180 degree shift like School Life, for example, but it's still not going to pull its punches. I also appreciate the fact that inside the very first episode, it gives you a really good idea of just how important lying is in their daily lives. As Chise, the ninja lolly character, points out inside her really only important dialogue inside the first episode, if they were to stop lying to each other, they could no longer be friends, which sounds like a strange thing to say, but after you get through the first few episodes, you really understand that they don't agree with everything, and if they were to tell the truth to each other, they honestly couldn't be friends for a few reasons. Which I feel leads into why I like the characters so much. Despite the 5 girls working together, they all have their own agenda, and if they were to know each other's agenda, it would really complicate things for the friendship, and honestly, they probably would not be able to work together just because the higher-ups would tell them apart, if not try to kill each other, to be honest. All of the girls have learned to become masters of lying to each other, and just have to keep up the charade of being one big team, or else everything would just fall apart. The only real exception to this is Beatrice, who wears her thoughts and emotions on her sleeve, and honestly, she's not really cut out to be a spy like the others. If it wasn't for the episode format, I would be seriously worried that she'd be able to keep her head on her shoulders by the end of the series. Which reminds me, on a small side note, I really appreciate how Beatrice and the princess react differently to the carnage that is going on around them compared to the other girls. Because, while Angie, Dorothy, and Chise are very desensitized to all of this violence, they are not. And like, Beatrice is asking Chise if she killed the people that she just fought. We have the princess freezing whenever she sees a room full of blood, while the other girls are just kind of okay with this sort of thing because they're used to it. And while I know that this isn't much of a compliment, like, they should be doing this, I feel like this would be easy to forget with the tone that this show has set, and just with this episode format where everything's going back and forth, it would be very easy to forget these girls aren't as desensitized to this sort of thing as the others are. So, I like that they're doing that. Now, I'm also not just going to be like, this is the best show ever and it can't do anything wrong, because there are a few reservations I have about the series going forward. The first one, and this is really just a small nitpick, especially compared to the others, but I'd really like it if they better explain Carbonite to the viewer, because, like, it looks cool, it's how Angie's device works, and I think a few other devices in the series. But as of now, I don't really understand the limitations of it. We understand that it has anti-gravity, and can apparently be used as a light grenade, but then it also apparently lets you lift dirt off the ground, I think, and remake a room of where it was hours ago, which is what happened in episode 4. And I really just want to understand its limitations, because if they don't give you its limitations, they can just kind of say it does whatever, and I don't really want it to just become this mystical device of whatevers. The second thing that's worrying me about the show is honestly its episodic format and how it's switching back and forth in the timeline. Now, I understand that the comparisons to like Haruhi Suzumiya and stuff makes this seem like a really good thing, and I honestly think it's a good thing for how they're telling the story. It's good for letting you get to know each character. First they show you the beginning thoughts or later thoughts, and then they'll backtrack to how they thought earlier, such as Angie and Beatrice fighting a lot. Well, mostly Beatrice fighting a lot with Angie in the 3rd episode, but in the 4th one, where they skip ahead several episodes, you see that they're very close friends compared to then. And I feel that it's very good for setting up these stories and character dynamics, but it also worries me that they can't raise the tension too high in the show with how they've set up these episodes. Like, the first episode is episode 13, so you know that none of the characters are going to be dead by episode 12. And assuming it's a normal length anime compared to most others, it probably won't be exceeding 13 episodes. Now, if it does, then forget my worries. I'm fine with them being like, yeah, they're alive for the first half of the series, and now you have to question it. And, like, if they were to throw in a character randomly showing up in last several episodes, you'd have to seriously wonder if that character is going to live. And I think that would actually be a really cool twist, but it hasn't happened yet, so I kind of doubt that's going to happen. But it just worries me that they won't be able to raise the tension too much. But if the story and the characters just stay as strong as they are, I think that won't be a deal breaker with this series. It's just a thing that makes me worry if it's going to hurt the show in the long run. Now, the only thing which I think is a real deal breaker for this series is going to be its ending. Now, I know that that's true for pretty much any anime, but for an espionage spy thriller series like this is somewhat turning out to be, it's even more important because the ending has to be as strong as the beginning, and I feel that the first 2 episodes really set this series on a strong path. And the episodes since then, I don't feel have been as strong as episode 1 and 2, but they've been really good at building the character dynamics and just letting you get to know what each character wants and their goals. And I feel like this is setting up to something really strong, but it can also fall apart if they don't follow through on it. This makes it even more worrisome whenever you realize that this is being made by the same person who did Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. And with how that series had a really strong start and a really not finish, it makes me worry for this series. But I feel like the setting and the characters, well, not the setting, I think that the characters and the writing is stronger than it was in Kabaneri. So I think it'll be fine. As long as it doesn't go entirely off the rails into a complete train wreck, I think it will end okay. But it still worries me. I think that's all I have to say about Princess Principal at the moment. I'm really loving it. I just don't want it to take a nosedive inside the 4th quarter of the series. Like, it honestly could if it can't live up to its starting point. And I feel like those are some fairly decent shoes they have to fill. But I'm keeping optimistic. I'm a pretty optimistic person, so I'll be let down in a lot of cases, but we'll see. With that out of the way, this is my first impressions video, and I thank you for sticking around if you've stayed to this point. If you have any opinions or critiques that differ from mine or just on my format of this video, to be honest, I'd really appreciate hearing them. I'm just kind of getting started in this sort of thing, so any help would be appreciated. Thank you for staying tuned, and I hope to see you again. Peace.